we lowered, see it, and then it should really be focused and directed to those policymakers in their countries, also in
Do you understand the message from Honorable Judith? Do not underestimate the power that you have. Do you hear that? Good, because I want you to keep listening to this panel. I was about to ask you another question, but I'll come back. Next, I'm going to head over to the only other Christian. I'm saving you for last. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right. So Mike, I'm coming to you. My question to you is, how does the US prioritize addressing inequalities in its global response, and especially in the context of involving and supporting young people?
Thanks, Joyce. So I see myself as a graduated youth, as Joyce said, and I just want to start by saying how inspiring and humbling it is to see leaders like Joyce and Leeroy and Lusungu. So maybe we give them all another round of applause.
Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of Ambassador Kengeson, who's the leader of PEPFAR. One of the really exciting things about working for Ambassador Kengeson is he is deeply committed to empowering and leveraging youth voices to improve PEPFAR's programs. PEPFAR's been around for 20 years. I'm sure many of you are aware of some of the work that PEPFAR has done to respond to the needs of young men and women, adolescents across Sub-Saharan Africa, including the DREAMS program. One of the insights from the DREAMS program, I think we've invested $800 million over 8 years into that program, is that we need to do more to empower youth voices and to ensure that our programs are co-designed and co-led by youth. And so under Ambassador Kengeson's leadership, I think there are several things that I'd want to reflect to you in answer to your question, Joyce. We recognize that we need to deliver targeted youth programs. We recognize that we need to embody and advocate for inclusive policy making. I love the point that Leeroy made around research and using data to inform youth programming. And I think at PEPFAR we also have an important role to play in terms of global advocacy and leadership in support of youth-run, youth-led HIV programming. So I'll end with just sort of an advertisement for a symposium that will happen early in 2024, led by Ambassador Kengeson, where we hope to launch an initiative that will empower and enable youth leaders to play a more substantive role in PEPFAR's response, and hopefully realize this goal of reducing inequities and inequalities for young people living with HIV and at risk for HIV across the countries we work in. Thanks.
Wonderful. Round of applause for Mike. Thank you so much. I was really very keen when listening to you speak, because part of the things you have mentioned are part of commitments that Ambassador Kengeson made to us earlier this year in March. The young people who are PEPFAR, especially in the southern region, Eastern African region, can attest. And it feels good to hear that he's finally going to go to this summit. And many other things that he promised us, but this is a good step in the right direction. And we thank PEPFAR for providing the leadership and the advocacy. And of course, we hope that we can do more. Another round of applause for them, please. Okay. And finally, Christine. I'm very there's a lot of questions that I want to ask. And a lot of things that I want to say that are really working well. So I think I'll just go straight to talk about the global strategy currently guiding us towards ending inequalities. And of course, mentioning that ending inequalities is a straight pathway as well to ending AIDS in all over the world, I think. So how can international organizations like yours, UNAIDS, support and amplify the efforts of youth-led networks and movements in addressing the inequalities?
Yeah. Thanks, Joyce. Good morning, everybody. I'm really glad to be here. It's really impressive to see this early in the morning such a room full of people, including a lot of you young people. So I'm really happy to be here. Just want to acknowledge also Tumi, who, as she says, I've known for now it looks like over 20 years. And it's so inspiring to me to see somebody like Tumi. We went together to the 2001 high-level meeting to see her growing to such an amazing professional advocate. We sometimes graduate in life, but Tumi has really stayed true to what she really believes in. It's been a total joy working together over those 20 years. I'm in a slightly strange position now because I would love to say there's all these inroads to the UN where young people can make their voices heard and where we decide things together, and that would be overplayed, right? The UN is quite a big monster of construct, and it is not easy for young people to get in there and to make their voices heard. But I want to talk a little bit about UNAIDS because we're a little bit different. So one, we have civil society on our board. We're the only UN agency that has civil society on our board, and that includes young people. And again, here is an entry point for all of you to advocate and make sure whoever sits there on behalf of communities that they also include young people's voices and invite young people in, because we have that opportunity for you to come and speak at our board and so forth. So I think there is an entry point there. Yes, we have a global strategy, but also, that's really important, we have a political declaration from 2 years ago. And that political declaration for the first time talks about GPER, the great involvement of people living with HIV, and it specifically names key populations and adolescents and young people. And again, that's a commitment, an international commitment that member states have signed up to. So in the work that you do with parliamentarians in your own countries, but also with us at the UN and with PEPFAR, that's an advocacy tool you can hold up and say, but you committed to this, where are you, where the entry points for us to speak and to be heard. For us at UNAIDS, I think what's really important is to work together with you. We've done that in the past and most recently with White Plus and partners in Nigeria to create, I think it was scorecards, accountability scorecards. And that's really important that we work together to figure out when we make all these big declarations, we have a strategy, we have a political declaration, we issue the World AIDS Day report that said let communities lead. How do you, what are your tools to hold us accountable that we actually do that? So we're really willing and able and open to working on those accountability mechanisms. And maybe lastly, and I think Leeroy, you talked about data. I think it's really important that all of us create spaces for community-led data to be counted as data, and that includes youth generated data that is meaningful to you, that tells us what's working, what's not working, where we fail to live up to our commitments, and importantly, where there are specific environments that are holding young people back. And on this continent, yes, a big majority of new infections are in young people. A big majority of the disease burden sits with young people, and so therefore that's your power. I think you said it, Joyce, right? Or you to me. That's your power. You are in the majority, and you must, we must ensure that majority voice comes through and brings us the data. And yes, you're saying all sorts of nice things, but this is what the reality looks like for us. We are open to doing that, and we're really open to helping to create that data, and also to create pathways for that data to be taken seriously and not as an annex. There's all this interesting data that is being produced by a bigger matters, and it's scientific, and it is valuable. And so this is our role as UNAIDS to make sure that it matters, and it there is, and maybe as a last point, many of you, there is a bit of change in leadership in UNAIDS, and I think both Winnie as the executive director, but both the deputies, we are very committed to being open to voices and constructive criticism, and we're really informal in most ways, and many of you have access to at least me. Do come to us, speak to us, tell us what's not working at country level. When I go to a country, I always ask, and I now don't even have to ask. There's always young people in the room, because our country teams want to know that we want to talk to young people. But I see they actually have, in many countries, built structures to include young people in the work that they do. If they don't, tell us, or tell them, and then tell us.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Lusungu. That was, thank you. And we also want to take this opportunity to appreciate UNAIDS. The theme for this year, World AIDS Day, was Let Communities Lead. And this brings two things in mind. The first one is, for the term not to be communities leading or whatever, it is let communities lead. And we've been trying to unpack who should let communities to lead. And maybe I'll come back to this question depending on the temperatures in the room. I would also like to take this opportunity to say that the new report that was launched for World AIDS Day, it really shows the work that young people have been doing, the leadership that we provided, and some of the examples that have also been mentioned here, the Uproot Scorecard, the Reid program, they have also been highlighted in that particular report. So your commitment definitely aligns with what you've already been practicing. I would like to look into the room if there's any questions for my panelists, or if I can. Okay, there's a hand. How many hands? All right. Before I come to you, I'd like to ask you, Mike, a question. So Tumi talks about Reid, she talks about doing development differently, and many other models of youth leadership that are important, but are also very expensive to lead and to implement. My question to you is, do you, I wrote this down in a nice way. How do we approach this in terms of doing development differently? Where do we get the resources as young people? We are listening and we'd like to know, first, do you think doing development differently is expensive? And how do we navigate it?
I don't think it has to be expensive. In answer to your second question, not sure if this is working. Yeah. I would encourage all youth in the room to get involved. And as it relates to PEPFAR programs, get involved with your PEPFAR programs, become leaders in your programs. How PEPFAR runs our programs every 2 years. We have a country operating plan that is put together by relevant stakeholders in each country. That is a great opportunity for young people to share their perspectives, to be involved, to help inform the strategic directions. And moving forward, our vision for PEPFAR is that it's local organizations run by local leadership that are running the efforts on the ground. So that is a great place for youth to step in and run things. So that would be a great way to be involved.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for keeping it short and sweet. And also for emphasizing and reiterating PEPFAR's commitment to supporting leadership. I'll come to you, Sonia. You mentioned that we need to approach and work with our elected leaders. But most cases, the young people in this room will tell you that they're not accessible. They're not easily found. And also, most of the times, we shy away from engaging in political processes. In one line, how do we approach this? How do we approach these leaders? And probably I'm looking for a commitment on how best can you, from your end, also support us to be able to engage with our political leaders?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think there's two layers to that response. The first one is the onus or the responsibility on the young people first themselves before reaching the political leaders. So to make sure, as the other panelists mentioned, knowing what the declarations, what the promises, what the commitments were made by the state, by the heads of state. So for example, on the African level, within the African Union, there are promises made very specifically within the HIV space. There's the catalytic framework. There's within the Agenda 2063, there are declarations in there. Know those, of course, also also using on the UN level. With those, you arm yourself with direct promises that they made. And then in terms of actually accessing them, I have mentioned this other social media. For those who are not on that, you should be able to have access directly to Parliament. I know it is different in different countries. Myself, I am Namibian, and I know that you can access sometimes the Gallery of Parliament and so on. But there are youth caucuses within the different parliaments. So maybe not your direct parliamentarian from your constituency. Sorry, your constituency might not be accessible. I understand that, but does not necessarily have to be the direct person that within your space, but find someone nationally that works, either focuses on health or youth issues. And usually those ones are young people who should be accessible. And I think that you should please be free to reach out to us even within Africa Reach, because we do have parliamentarians from across Africa that we would then also try to support creating contacts with. So we have our website, we are online, we have our socials. So feel free to DM us and reach out who we know we will try. Sorry I took long.
No, it's perfect. Thank you very much for that. I think the basis of this session is for us to also know how we can work with you. And there's a reason why it's a high-level panel, because we like to take advantage of the high-level panels. We've had commitment from PEPFAR, had commitment from UNAIDS, and now I'm coming to you, Tumi. I know there's one hand. I'll come to you so that we can wrap up. Is there another hand? Just two. Okay. So, Tumi, what would be Frontline AIDS commitment to supporting youth leadership and engagement?
Thank you, Joyce. So we recently held a very successful Reid Summit on Sunday, and our objective is to recognize that there are many movements of young people. In addressing inequalities, it means we all need to come together around the table. And at the Reid Summit, we were launching our movement building strategy. And for the time, we were able to convene different movements across of young people in that diversity. And so our commitment as Frontline is to continue investing in the movement building of young people, recognizing young people's agency and leadership. And I think most importantly, a personal commitment is around the continued advocacy to development partners to allow and make room for flexible funding. There's a need for funding investments to also be able to lend themselves to that diversity.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Tumi, for that. You guys can clap. It's up to you. But as Y Plus Global, we know what she's talking about. So there was a hand here.
Yeah, thank you so much to our panelists. My name is Nadu from Ghana, and I just wanted to add a voice or contribute that in addressing inequalities, there's also the need to apply gender lens, because most of these inequalities perpetrate from negative gender norms and stereotypes. Specifically adopting a gender transformative approach to programming, and so that we are bringing, designing youth programs or project targeting ending AIDS that move from an exploitative or accommodating to a gender transformative approach, and making sure we are applying principles. We are already doing empowering women, but there's a need to also engage men and boys, because if we check the incidence and prevalence HIV infection, it's more among women, and in engaging men and boys who want to engage them as allies, as partners, and also as beneficiaries. I also wanted to add that there's a need in addressing inequalities, partnerships for sustainable opportunities for young people. And so I'm happy we have donors here, and you need to partner with youth networks, and also that would affirm your stance that letting communities lead and ensuring youth leadership. And lastly, funding youth initiative. It's more than including us as beneficiaries or giving us spaces to lead, but believing in us and committing resources for bring our own visions to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Nadu. Thank you very much. Cyprian, 30 seconds.
Thank you. My question goes directly to Dr. Mike. First, my name is Cyprian Aldis Komba. I'm from Tanzania. I'm the lady focal point for Tanzania. We met in Tanzania, right? So my question goes direct to PEPFAR. I would love to know how PEPFAR is committed to just support the youth movement, because Ambassador John Kengason last time asked us what we'd love to see more and how will the PEPFAR do with young people, and we recommended. We want to see PEPFAR the supporting youth movement, because back home and even to other countries, we don't feel like youth movement are really being supported by PEPFAR, because it's like their supporting mechanism is a little bit strange. Is something like it's not easy for you as a young person or youth network or whatever to just be able to just get to PEPFAR and tell PEPFAR that we want things go like this way and we can recommend this way. So how is PEPFAR committed to see like they're supporting youth movement and scaling up the youth exiting program that they have shown they have proven impact on the ground, including the Reid Plus program?
Thank you for that question, Cyprian. We ask it as it is. Mike, 30 seconds, please.
It's a great question. And I will just say, from an epidemiological point of view, we need to figure out these answers, because if we're going to end the HIV epidemic, we have to figure out ways to reach young people with the prevention tools that they need and get people onto treatment as quickly as possible. So you're absolutely right to be asking this question. I think one way that we are trying to engage youth is through a youth-led initiative that we're going to launch early in 2024. So as I mentioned before, be on the lookout for an online symposium where Ambassador Kengason is going to share one specific concrete initiative that we have in mind for how we want to engage youth in solving country-specific problems, designing with us country-specific interventions that will meet the needs of the communities that you're involved with.
Wonderful. A round of applause for Mike. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Tumi, and thank you, Sonia. We really appreciate. We have had, and we will hold you accountable. We will start with you. So please help me thank my panelists, please, with a round of applause. Also giving special thanks to the organizers of this session, GNP Plus, Frontline AIDS, of course, Y Plus Global, the Ready Plus program, and I will not forget to mention Tinashe Grateful Rufuruadzu. And all the young people for joining this session and making this session a success. Thank you very much. Enjoy ICASA. You can clap for yourselves, and you can clap for me. Oh, mine has fewer, it's fine. Thank you. Lusungu Leeroy. Oh, Lusungu Harawa.